Before the Stanley Cup, before the Vezina Trophy, and before he became an immortal in the Hockey Hall of Fame, Charles Robert Chuck Gardiner was just a Scottish boy chasing dreams across frozen ponds in Winnipeg. Born in Edinburgh in 1904 and raised amidst the grit of Canada's rail towns, Gardiner's story is one of resilience, innovation, and heartbreaking sacrifice. More than just a legendary NHL goaltender, he was a pioneer of acrobatic goaltending, a wartime son, a family man, and the only goalie in history to captain a Stanley Cup-winning team. His journey from immigrant hardship to hockey's grandest stage is not only inspiring, it's essential to understanding the roots of modern goaltending. In this in-depth biography, we trace Chuck's humble beginnings, his rise through Winnipeg's youth leagues, his transformation into the heart and soul of the Chicago Black Hawks, and the devastating illness that cut his brilliance short at just 29. We explore how personal tragedies, losing his father, brother, and daughter, shaped a man of uncommon depth. We unpack his influence on sports, aviation, community, and masculinity in the 1930s. And we confront the questions that still linger. Could his death have been prevented? Was his Ironman persona his greatest strength or fatal flaw? Chuck Gardiner was more than a goalie. He was a symbol of determination, a bridge between old-world hardship and new-world opportunity. This is the story of how a boy from Edinburgh became one of the greatest goaltenders of all time, and why, nearly a century later, his legacy still echoes on the ice. Charles Robert Gardiner, known affectionately as Chuck or Charlie to those who knew him best, entered the world on the last day of 1904 in the historic city of Edinburgh, Scotland. The son of John and Janet Gardiner, he was the fourth of 5 children in a close-knit working-class family. His siblings included 2 older brothers, John and Alexander, and 2 sisters, Edith and Christina. Life in early 20th century Scotland was far from easy for families like the Gardiners. John, a skilled railcar repairman, toiled long hours to provide for his growing brood, while Janet managed the household in the cramped tenements that dotted the city's landscape. Edinburgh, with its ancient castles looming over foggy streets and the constant hum of industrial activity, offered limited prospects for upward mobility. The aftermath of the Industrial Revolution had brought prosperity to some, but for many it meant overcrowded living conditions, polluted air thick with coal smoke, and the daily grind of manual labor. Whispers of opportunity in distant lands began to circulate among Scottish families, tales of vast prairies and booming economies in Canada, where hard work could yield a better life. By 1911, when Chuck was just 7 years old, the Gardiners made the bold decision to emigrate. Packing their meager belongings, they boarded a ship bound for the New World, part of a larger wave of Scottish immigrants seeking escape from economic stagnation and the lingering effects of hardship back home. The journey across the Atlantic was arduous. Crowded steerage quarters, rough seas, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. But it marked the beginning of a new chapter. They settled in Winnipeg, Manitoba, a rapidly growing prairie city that served as a hub for Canada's expanding railroad network. Winnipeg in the early 1910s was a vibrant, multicultural melting pot, home to waves of immigrants from Europe, including many Scottish and Irish families like the Gardiners. They found a modest home south of the tracks in a neighborhood buzzing with the sounds of locomotives and the chatter of diverse languages. John quickly secured work as a railcar repairman, much like his job in Scotland, and young Chuck would often lie awake at night, mesmerized by the rhythmic clatter of trains rolling through the city. It was a place of extremes. Summers were short and hot, but winters dominated, with temperatures plunging well below freezing for months on end. Snow blanketed the landscape, turning rivers and ponds into natural ice rinks that became central to community life. In Winnipeg, hockey wasn't merely a pastime. It was woven into the fabric of survival and social bonding. The brutal cold demanded activity to ward off frostbite, and for kids like Chuck, the frozen surfaces of the Assiniboine River or backyard ponds offered endless hours of escape. Chuck didn't learn to skate until he was 8, and even then, he wasn't the fleet-footed forward type. His slower speed on the ice led him naturally to the position of goaltender, where agility and quick reflexes mattered more than speed. But Chuck's style was anything but conventional. In an era when most goalies stood upright, rigid like sentinels in the net, he developed an acrobatic approach, diving, sprawling, and flopping to make saves. This wasn't born of showmanship, but necessity. Moving constantly kept his extremities from freezing in the sub-zero temperatures. Little did he know, this innovative technique would revolutionize goaltending, influencing future generations of netminders who saw the value in flexibility over tradition. School days at Albert School introduced Chuck to lifelong friend Wilf Cude, another immigrant, this time from Wales, who shared his passion for hockey, and would also go on to become an NHL goalie. But childhood innocence was short-lived. By age 12, Chuck was thrust into the workforce, taking a job at the J.H. Ashdown Hardware Company to support the family. This early responsibility came amid profound tragedy. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 shattered the Gardiner's world. Chuck's older brothers, John and Alexander, enlisted and were shipped off to the muddy trenches of Europe, facing the horrors of trench warfare, gas attacks, and relentless artillery. Their father, John Sr., also signed up for service but never made it overseas. He died suddenly on May 30th, 1916, from undisclosed causes, leaving Janet to raise 5 children alone in a foreign land. The loss was devastating, a gaping void in the family structure. Alexander returned home physically unscathed, but Brother John was forever changed, poisoned by mustard gas in the fields of France, his lungs irreparably damaged. He struggled with health issues for years, a living reminder of the war's toll, until his death on December 13th, 1928, from complications related to his injuries. These family tragedies forged Chuck's character, instilling a resilience and determination that would define his life. He stepped up as the de facto man of the house, balancing work, school, and his budding love for sports. Amid the grief, the ice became his sanctuary, a place where he could channel his emotions into something tangible. Winnipeg's hockey scene was raw and competitive, with informal games on frozen ponds evolving into organized leagues. At just 13, Chuck joined the Victorias in the Winnipeg City League, making an impressive debut with a shutout, keeping the opposing team scoreless. However, a subsequent tough loss led to him being cut from the team, an early setback that only fueled his fire. Undaunted, he moved on to the Winnipeg Tigers in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, MJHL, playing from 1921 to 1924. His performance improved steadily each season. In 1921-22, he appeared in one game with a 6.00 goals against average GAA. By 1922-23, 6 games with a 3.08 GAA. And in the 1923-24 playoffs, a single game where he posted a shutout and a perfect 0.00 GAA. These years honed his skills, teaching him the importance of endurance and mental toughness. Hockey wasn't Chuck's only athletic pursuit. He was a true multi-sport talent, excelling in ways that showcased his versatility and competitive spirit. He played baseball for his hardware store team, boasting a career batting average of .30, a mark that would make any professional envious. His love for the diamond was so strong that he later admitted reluctance in giving it up for pro hockey. In Canadian football, he starred as a halfback and later quarterback for the Winnipeg Tammany Tigers Junior Club, starting in 1920. Under his contributions, the Tigers reached the Western Canada Junior Championships twice, but fell short both times. His gridiron career culminated in the 13th Grey Cup in 1925, where he suited up but ultimately lost to the Ottawa Senators. These experiences built his physical prowess and leadership qualities, traits that would shine on the ice. Off the field and rink, Chuck was building a multifaceted life that reflected his curiosity and ambition. He pursued a business administration and sales degree through the International Correspondence Schools, demonstrating a foresight uncommon for athletes of his era. Aviation fascinated him. He learned to fly from former teammate Conrad Johannesson and invested in shares of the Winnipeg Flying Club, dreaming perhaps of skies beyond the rink. Marksmanship became another passion. He was elected secretary of the Winnipeg Gun Club in the summer of 1931, earning recognition for his sharpshooting skills. Community and faith played central roles too. He regularly attended services at Grace United Church in Winnipeg, finding solace and connection in religious gatherings. His involvement in Freemasonry added another layer of brotherhood. He joined St. John's Lodge on April 21, 1926, and by the summer of 1933, at age 29, became the youngest Shriner in the city, a testament to his standing among peers seeking mutual support and moral guidance. Yet, hockey remained the loudest call. In the 1924-25 season, Chuck advanced to senior level with the Selkirk Fishermen in the Manitoba Hockey League. Over 18 games, he recorded 2 shutouts and an impressive 1.83 GAA, leading the team to the championship finals, though they ultimately lost to the Port Arthur Bearcats. This performance caught the eye of professional scouts, and in 1925-26, he turned pro with the Winnipeg Maroons in the Central Hockey League, which later rebranded as the American Hockey Association, AHA. The decision meant reluctantly abandoning baseball, but it paid off. In his debut pro season, he played 38 games, notching 6 shutouts with a 2.16 GAA, followed by 5 playoff games, including 1 shutout and a 2.00 GAA. The next year, 1926-27, saw him in 36 games with another 6 shutouts and a 2.14 GAA, plus 3 playoff games at 2.67 GAA. His legendary endurance, playing nearly every minute, proved he could thrive under the relentless pressure of professional play. The big leagues beckoned in 1927 when the Chicago Blackhawks signed him. That same August, on the 6th, Chuck married his longtime sweetheart, Myrtle Brooks, in a heartfelt ceremony at Grace United Church in Winnipeg. Their union brought joy amid the demands of his career. Son Robert Roy arrived on May 20th, 1929, filling their home with the sounds of a young family. But tragedy struck again on May 7, 1931, when their daughter was born, but passed away the same day. A profound loss that Chuck and Myrtle bore in quiet sorrow, rarely speaking of it publicly. This personal heartbreak mirrored the fragility that would later define his story, underscoring the emotional depths beneath his stoic exterior. Chuck's NHL debut in 1927-28 was a trial by fire. The Blackhawks were in rebuilding mode, and he shouldered the load, playing 40 of 44 games. He managed 3 shutouts but posted a 2.83 GAA as the team scraped together just 8 wins or ties. Chicago fans, known for their passion, were unforgiving, hurling boos that tested his resolve. The 1928-1929 season proved even harsher. The Hawks scored a dismal league-low 33 goals, earning the mocking moniker Goalless Wonders. Chuck played every single minute of all 44 games, a feat of Ironman stamina, recording 5 shutouts and a 1.85 GAA. The criticism mounted, pushing him to the brink of retirement until teammate Duke Keats intervened with words of encouragement. Owner Frederick McLaughlin even floated selling him back to Winnipeg for $3,500, but wiser heads prevailed, and the deal fell through. A rule change in 1929-30, allowing forward passing in the offensive zone, transformed the league, inflating scoring across the board. Chuck's GAA climbed slightly to 2.42 with 3 shutouts, but the Hawks surged to a 21-18-15 record, securing second in the American Division and their first playoff berth. They bowed out to the Montreal Canadiens 3-2 in total goals, but the taste of postseason action ignited Chuck's hunger. The 1931 campaign was a breakthrough. Chicago finished 24-17-3, with Chuck leading the NHL in shutouts 12 and GAA 1.73, earning his inaugural first All-Star team selection. The Hawks advanced to the Stanley Cup final, falling 3-2 to Montreal once more, but Chuck's playoff heroics, 5-3-2 record, 2 shutouts, 1.32 GAA, dazzled. Interest from other teams peaked. The New York Americans offered $10,000, double his salary, but McLaughlin held firm. The 1931-32 season brought personal glory amid team mediocrity. With an 18-19-11 record, Chicago squeaked into playoffs, but Chuck shone, posting a 1.85 GAA, 4 shutouts, and capturing his first Vezina Trophy as the league's top goalie, the first right-handed catcher to achieve this honor. Named to the first All-Star team again, He led the Hawks past Toronto in playoffs before a short exit. But shadows loomed in 1932 to 33. A persistent tonsil infection began draining his vitality, a condition he initially concealed. On December 23, 1932, he revealed it publicly, yet played the next night in Toronto with a fever exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In a grueling performance, he made 55 saves to secure a Hawks victory, collapsing between periods and requiring hospitalization afterward. League president Frank Calder and Toronto star Charlie Conacher lauded his courage, but the toll was evident. Chicago missed playoffs with a 16-20-12 record, though Chuck's 5 shutouts and 2.01 GAA earned him second All-Star honors, the only time in his career he didn't make the first team. Entering 1933-34, teammates unanimously elected him captain, making him the only NHL goalie to ever lead a Stanley Cup-winning team. Despite the infection escalating into uremic convulsions and severe kidney pain, Chuck delivered a masterful season. 2017-11 team record, 10 shutouts, 1.63 GAA, his second Vezina, and third first All-Star nod. He participated in the Ace Bailey benefit game on February 14, 1934, a charity all-star event honoring the injured Toronto player. Playoffs were a testament to his grit, feverish and often slumping against the crossbar for support during breaks. He compiled a 6-1-1 record, 2 shutouts, and 1.33 goals against average. On April 10, 1934, he blanked Detroit in the finale, clinching Chicago's first Stanley Cup. In a light-hearted post-victory bet, teammate Roger Jenkins wheeled the weary captain around Chicago's bustling business district in a wheelbarrow, drawing cheers from adoring fans. A moment of absurd joy amid exhaustion. Triumph, however, was ephemeral. Returning to Winnipeg that summer, the chronic infection culminated in a catastrophic brain hemorrhage. After a choir practice, Chuck had a deep love for singing, finding harmony in music as he did on ice. He collapsed into a coma, never regaining consciousness. He passed away on June 13, 1934, at the age of 29, leaving Myrtle and young Robert devastated. The hockey community grieved profoundly. Detroit general manager Jack Adams eulogized him as a great fellow. Nobody could help liking him. He was certainly the outstanding goalie of the league. Furthermore, he always played like a gentleman. Chuck was laid to rest in Brookside Cemetery in Winnipeg. His legacy abruptly curtailed, but eternally resonant. Chuck's narrative is laced with complexities and debates that add nuance to his heroism. Whispers persisted about his reluctance to pursue aggressive treatment for the tonsillitis earlier. Was it stubborn pride, a product of the era's limited medical understanding, or the pressure to perform in a sport that demanded unyielding toughness? In the 1930s, infections were often underestimated, and tonsillectomies were not standard for adults, with risks outweighing perceived benefits. His acrobatic goaltending style sparked controversy too. Revolutionary to innovators, reckless to purists who favored the upright posture. While it paved the way for dynamic netminders like Terry Sawchuk, it arguably exposed him to greater physical strain and injury. His unprecedented captaincy ignited discussions. Could a goalie, confined to the crease, effectively lead? Chuck's Cup victory affirmed it, yet no one has replicated the feat, leaving historians to ponder if it was anomaly or untapped potential. Rankings remain contentious. The Hockey News slotted him 76th among all-time greats in 1998. But critics argue his abbreviated career, cut short at its peak, undervalues his dominance. Personal facets like his Freemasonry and Shriner involvement are seldom explored, revealing a man craving fraternal bonds amid repeated losses: father, brother, daughter, and ultimately his health. Opposing interpretations cast him as obstinate for playing through illness, a trait glorified in hockey's culture of grit but criticized as self-destructive. Yet, this duality, heroic perseverance versus tragic hubris, humanizes him, highlighting life's contradictions and the fragile beauty of ambition. Chuck's influence endures, a beacon in hockey's annals. Inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1945 as an inaugural member, he joins elites in Canada's Sports Hall of Fame, Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame and Museum, and Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame. His career stats impress: 316 NHL games, 112 wins, some sources cite 122, reflecting minor discrepancies, 42 shutouts, 2.02 goals against average, playoffs 12-6-3, 5 shutouts, 1.4, 3G, AA. The British Elite Ice Hockey League honored him by naming a conference after him in 2012-13, and in 2018, Winnipeg rechristened an arena near his childhood home as Charlie Gardiner Arena, ensuring local youth skate in his shadow. Beyond accolades, Chuck inspired evolutions in the game, goalies adopting flair over rigidity, leaders emerging from unexpected positions, and a heightened awareness of health risks. In today's era of advanced medicine and concussion protocols, his untimely death from a treatable infection underscores hockey's perils, reminding players, coaches, and fans to prioritize well-being over wins. Culturally, he embodies immigrant tenacity, a Scottish boy who mastered Canada's national sport, proving dreams transcend borders. From him, we glean profound lessons: life's impermanence, the strength in vulnerability, and the imperative to cherish every shift on the ice or in existence. His unsung battles against grief, illness, and doubt urge us to confront our own with grace. Reflecting on Chuck Gardiner, one sees not just a goalie, but a profound emblem of human highs and lows. From Winnipeg's icy ponds to Chicago's triumphant parades, he pursued fulfillment through adversity, crafting a legacy that stirs the soul with warmth and wistfulness. In our hurried world, his fleeting brilliance imparts a vital truth: embrace life wholly, cherish connections deeply, and approach each challenge as if it were your final stand. His memory endures, a quiet inspiration to navigate our nets with unyielding heart.